Welcome back to In Doubt Checkout with Dr. Nandini Mundkur. First and foremost, a very happy new year to all our viewers. We are back with a series of exciting podcasts this year too. First and foremost, let me welcome Dr. Nandini Mundkur. Welcome, Doctor, for another exciting series of podcasts this year.
Thank you, Manju. It's a great pleasure to do it for you all. I really enjoy doing this.
Thank you.
And let me also wish our viewers a happy new year.
Great. Okay, so dear viewers, we shall be having our podcast. This series of podcasts will be more on emotional regulation in children. So, without wasting time, let's get back to our questions with Dr. Nandini Mundkur. Doctor, first and foremost, what is emotional regulation?
Emotional regulation is the ability for us to understand our emotional experiences, be aware of it, understand it, and cope with it. That is one part. It also involves the empathetic component, which is understanding the other, the experience, what is the other person experiencing, and how should I deal with that. So that is emotional regulation.
Okay, so it takes, I think it takes really a long time to develop, and I think it all develops after a certain age of a child.
It is a process. It's not that overnight I can get emotionally regulated and say, oh, today I'm fine.
Oh.
It is a process. It starts right from birth.
Oh,
It's not after a certain age. Even infants have to regulate themselves. So it starts right from birth and goes on till adulthood. I think still we die, we are emotionally regulating ourselves, by the way. So, so it's not after a certain age.
so children develop emotional regulation right after birth. Can you help us explain what is this process of development from an early life?
See, the infant, when it's born, now it's born with the ability of having a brain which is matured as far as the neurons are concerned. Almost like the adult, the baby also has the neurons, and it keeps connecting. That is what is called neuroplasticity, and through that we develop many skills. Now, one of the things which a baby is born with in the social emotional development is that it's born with genetically wired to understand that I will need to be looked after. See, human beings are the only species which takes almost 24 years to become independent, or some people are dependent even after that. That's a different story. But the child comes with the wiring that my caregiver who will take care of me will keep me secured. They'll keep me safe. They will soothe me when I am distressed, and they will be supportive of my security, soothing, safety. All this the brain expects. So that is why when the baby is distressed, let's say with hunger, it'll cry.
Okay.
That's her emotional regulation. The mother comes and feeds the child. It's calm. It's regulated itself.
Okay.
See, it's wet. It's crying because it's uncomfortable. It's showing you an experience. I am distressed. I know it doesn't know whether it's fear, anger, or whatever. But something is happening to me. I'm not comfortable. Help me. So the mother comes or the caregiver comes and then says, okay, you need a nappy change, you're comfortable. So, and over a period of time, the child learns that, oh, I show a particular sign and I will be taken care of.
Okay.
And that develops into as the baby grows, that there's a social smile, it connects with the people, emotionally, so on and so forth. It's called social milestones, which keeps developing, like 2 months, the child, by 4 months, it'll do back and forth, and he looks at you, and then by 1.5 years, it's practically got, developed quite a lot of relationship, though not verbally, non-verbally, enough for us to, by 1.5, 2 years, the child, when it becomes mobile and moves, it'll go to a point, if it senses danger, it will stop and it will look at the mother or the caregiver. Is it safe for me to go this? And she will say, no, you will fall, come back, whatever. That's called social referencing. So the first feature of the child getting to show its independence and getting a feedback from the parents or the caregiver that it's not safe. So the emotional regulation is this ability in the infants. It starts with the infant. So the infant per se can only show signs. It's the caregiver who regulates the emotion by taking care of the distress and saying, oh, no worry, you're in a safe haven, you're secure, you're safe, and you can be rest assured, and don't be stressed with all your, hunger or your wet panties or your whatever, stomach pain or colic or whatever it is. So that is what is emotional understanding of emotion, young children, how they are soothed and stressed out.
So it is not a one-way communication. So as I am listening to you, there is an expression being shown and there is somebody helping me with the expression, and there is an emotion being shown, and my mother or somebody helps me or soothes me through that or helps me regulate. So so it means that a child needs a lot of attachment with the parent to develop these skills. So is it that I can get emotionally regulated, I learn about emotional regulation all by myself, or is it my parents or the people around me help me to gain an emotional regulation?
See, emotional regulation happens from the thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, we call it. That only starts to develop after 3 years and goes to 24 years. The child is helpless. It is dependent on the caregiver and the other person. The caregiver, as it grows older, when it goes to school or preschool, then the other elders, the teachers play a great role later. Okay. The employees play a role when they become in their teenagers. The friends, it's a we call them co-regulators. That is, I'm incapable as an infant. I'm incapable of doing anything. I depend on you to help me. So while you're doing this, you're giving me a safe haven or a secure base to stay. And this is required for us for a very long time. Now, as we grow, what is needed is the communication between the infant and the co-regulator is a non-verbal. Child doesn't speak.
Yeah.
But how does it know this person? Attachment bonding is not taking care of needs. Like, okay, feeding or, putting the baby to sleep. That's not what it is. It's you're taking a feeling and you're going to soothe that feeling, that fear, that anger, that hunger. So that is what you're calling a bonding. It's called attachment bonding. Okay. A secure bonding is when the child is distressed and you take care of its needs, the child feels secure. Now what happens, let's say that's called secure attachment.
Yes.
Now what happens, I'm hungry as a baby and I'm crying and nobody is coming. I'm crying louder. Oh, listen, something is happening to me. I'm hungry. Help me. Nobody is there. And somebody comes after some time and shoves some milk into the, okay, at least it's soothed. Then again, every time the child realizes that I need help, that it has no trust. So I may get it or I have to stop sometimes and I will get it whenever they feel it.
Okay.
So that is, that ambivalent, kabhi haan, kabhi na. Sometimes they come take care of me. Sometimes they leave me to cry and be distressed. The child can't understand. So this stays in the mind of the child. What we need to understand about the brain as the child grows, this is called an implicit memory. It can happen any time during that. These traumas this doesn't go away. That okay, now it can stay in your mind even till the adulthood, unless you have resolved it. Now, avoidance. There's another kind of insecure attachment called avoidance. That is when the child feels there is nobody to take care of me. I am by myself. So it will reach out to his own bottle, it will reach out whenever it can. And so this child feels that I have to help myself. It's me and me alone. That I doesn't care much about the other's feeling. The ambivalent kid does not trust. It doesn't learn to trust. So, another very interesting thing about the infant is extremely egocentric. It is no shades of grey. It's me and you. There is no in between. So every time any kind of this distress happens to the baby, it blames itself. I am not capable of being loved. I cannot come. I'm not able to elicit that emotions from me to my other so that they look after me. So you see, that is why emotional regulation is so important, because the child carries this burden.
True.
They'll go into school age, it will go its own problem, and we'll talk a little later about that. When it becomes adult, it will carry its problem because it blames itself. It doesn't blame the other. It doesn't blame the parent, doesn't blame the caregiver. It blames itself. And that's the sad part of the whole thing. And that's what is the experiences which lingers. The events don't matter so much, It's experiences, for that. So isn't that very...
No, now help me understand. Now I'm in a very big doubt. Now, somewhere I feel that I'm depriving in many of the instances. For example, my daughter comes to me. I'm amidst some work. So she's either sleepy or she wants something. She comes and she asks for it. So now, like either she comes to me and says, "Mummy, I want water. Mummy, I want to sleep," or "Mummy, I just want a hug." So amidst work, I say, "Baby, give me 5 minutes and I'll be back." Now, and she obliges and then she goes away. Now, am I going wrong here?
No. When she obliges and says she waits for that 5 minutes, if she's a child over 2 years or so, which has got enough communication enough to show, you have taught her what is called as a delayed gratification. That, okay, you have told her. How have you told her? It's your beautiful tone of your voice, your facial expression, your physical touch. You say, "Baby, wait, I'll do it within 5 minutes."
That matters?
That matters. It's the non-verbal communication from the co-regulator which helps the child to understand the emotions. How is that?
Sorry to cut you short. What's this delayed gratification? I did not
Delayed
understand.
gratification means, okay, she'll wait for that 5 minutes. Not that immediately, give it to me right now. Bah, you didn't give me water. And she falls down and cries and shows a temper tantrum. That is, that's,
Okay.
So the delay means so far, you've given her when she was an infant, she was satisfied. She has understood. Now she has learned, and they learn by imitation of the older people. Everything in the child is by imitation of what they see the people around them, because they don't have any other way of learning.
Okay.
So when she says, and you've told her in a way, it's the non-verbal communication which matters. Your tone of your voice, your facial expression, you're telling her softly, "Wait, I'm coming." And she just waits for 4 minutes, and then you have gone within 2 minutes or whatever, and you have satisfied. You have sort of fulfilled a gratification.
Okay.
So, but what have you taught her? You've taught her to wait. That is this is a wonderful habit. Cannot come so early. She may be 2.5, 3.
Yes, she's 3.
There is this wonderful experiment on this which was done long ago. It's called the marshmallow experiment. It was in the US. It's very, very popular. They went to a school children. They were 4 or 5 years old, and the person who was doing this, the scientist, came in and said, "You all can have one marshmallow, but I'll come back after 10 minutes. If you wait, you will get 2." Okay. There were some who took that. I said 1, I don't know. Some waited for 5 minutes. So, I don't think he's come back. But those who waited got this. They followed them up till their college. Their SAT scores were, I don't know how many points higher. I don't remember. They were the best CEOs, and they followed up, and they got... they said that delayed gratification made them a superhuman being of understanding others and every way. Now, that's not the expect. Then this 70%, let's say 30% who went away, they studied them. What was that? Why didn't they wait?
Right. Yeah, correct. Why didn't they
Wait. That was the second interesting part of this experiment. They found they were the children who had not such a good emotional regulation.
Oh,
Either they were insecure, avoidance, or what. That is how this is so interesting. That's why the delayed gratification is such an amazing quality for a child to have.
so it doesn't come in a day or two. It depends on how a parent deals with a child from the day they come into our lives.
Absolutely.
And I think each and every day, each and every moment that we spend with our child has to be monitored.
Not that way. It's not just the parents, it's the caregiver.
Okay.
Okay. Now, they can be, see, another thing you have to understand, emotional regulation can happen at any age. It's not that if it's not happened in infancy, this is doomed for life. No, it's not like that.
Okay.
We have to recognize it and, resolve these issues. At
Okay.
any age. You can do it at school age. Teenagers will have their own problem. Even adults, you can resolve so many issues which we have, or you carry the burden of it. That's a different issue. But you have to understand that a secured attachment gives a good leap to the child. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be the person who's given birth to it. It has to be a consistent caregiver.
Okay.
It can be a nanny.
Okay.
Who is beautifully brings up. It can be a grandmother. It can be anyone where the child feels it can trust that adult. The trust relationship will be established.
So now it gives me a very big doubt. Now, how do you differentiate between behavior thrown by a child and or how do you differentiate? Like, for example, there are few children who like, for example, they ask for a toy. I didn't get them a toy, or at that moment, maybe the explanation that I gave was not comfortable for the child to accept it. He didn't trust me at that time. He throws a very big tantrum there. There is a big behavior shown over there, and there is the child could not regulate the child. I could not regulate the child. Now I'm not able to understand. Now, where does that child stand? Is it a behavior thrown, or is it the way that the child is getting regulated himself or her? Now I'm in a very big doubt.
Okay. Behavior and emotional regulation are fundamentally based on two different way of dealing with the child. When you see a behavior, you're seeing that behavior.
Okay.
And to gratify that behavior, you're going to either fulfill the needs of the child, or you give, whatever, give the toy, or you're going to. Emotional regulation is not an external gratification. It is internally building a resistance in the child to how to cope with that emotion.
Okay.
Even if when a child will throw temper tantrums, because now we come to the next part of understanding this is you have to understand the brain. You see, a child's brain, infant's brain or a child's brain is under construction. They say I told you the prefrontal cortex matures at almost starts around 2.5, 3, goes till 24 years, and that's the one which is regulating our emotions. And there's this beautiful Dr. Dan Siegel, as child psychiatrist, was taught us the hand model. Which we have talked about, that this hand is a limbic system of the emotional brain. It has the hippocampus and amygdala. That is the one which reacts and throws this. It's not under the control of the brain. As we grow older, we also get anger. Everything comes from the same, but we have the ability to think and control. How do I act in this situation? A young infant and this thing will just show and now this tantrum which you are seeing, what is the emotion behind it? It could be anger, it could be frustration, it could be sadness, it could be pain. You're only seeing this, but what is behind that? If you're not going to resolve that stays with the child, no? Okay. That's a difference.
Okay.
Between a behavior and an emotion. And the theory is emotions are built on relationships. I told you it takes two to tango.
Yes.
The co-regulator is so important there, isn't it?
Yes. So unless and until I build the trust in this child that he or she is going to get what they want from an early age, I don't think
No,
they'll trust me, right?
it's not like that. No, emotional regulation is not depriving the child of what they want, or, it depends upon what they want and how you want to get it. When the child is throwing a tantrum, I say a severe tantrum, 18 months, 2 years, and, putting, crying like this, and, so distressing, and they're onlookers, you're in a shop, in a mall, where, how do you resolve this in a child? First of all, if you want to do based on emotional regulation, there are steps to that. First of all, we need to empathize with the child. Stand next to it and say, I am there as a secure base. You are having some distress. I understand that. I am there. Then pick the child up. Connect it. I told you it's all about non-verbal communication. Oh, baby, why are you getting, what is it? You're getting up angry, or, soothe the child, back the back. Then it'll calm. This is the first step. Calm down immediately.
Okay.
And then if you don't want to give that, you distract the child with whatever. Oh my God, I can see that. Let's go see what's happening there. If it's a 2 or 3 year old.
Yes.
Much later. See, when you want to regulate something, your mind has to be calm to accept it.
Correct.
Much later, you can say, no crying, can ask nicely, whatever it is, with the child. This comes to, why do we do this?
Yes.
Is the question. Why does a child? This is a this is the best thing about the neuroscience, which is advanced, which is tells us so many things about how, what they say is the primary aim of our brain is to keep us safe.
Correct.
And that comes from very brainstem things, We have something called the autonomic nervous system, which has a sympathetic and a parasympathetic. Sympathetic means immediately when it sees danger or something, the sympathetic nervous system will start firing. And it's like the vagus nerve, they call it. It goes from the brain to every part of your body.
Okay.
So when it senses danger, what will it do? It will get ready for you to fight or flight.
Yeah.
Immediate. Your immediate thing, the brain, is to keep you safe. All other things are later.
True.
All the time you are in a fight-flight mood. You see a tiger coming, you're not going to say, oh, how am I going to manage this tiger coming? Your body will say, come on, get ready and charge and run from here. Where even if you're wandering and looking into the beautiful scenery in the forest and enjoying the whole thing, relax so beautifully. The minute the tiger comes, all that relaxation just goes. All your energy is gone to that muscle and say, come on, run from here. Or if you can't run, it's on you say, I have no way but to fight that. Whether I die or the tiger dies, I have to fight it.
I have to fight. That's true.
Fight or flight is a main. Freeze will come to later. That's the worst thing. That's most desperation and depression that, I can't do either. I'm just going to hold straight and either I die or I survive is not in my hand. That's the third. Now, this fight or flight happens, that is a sympathetic nerve. And then you run away and you've kept yourself, you calmed your breath and you come back. Then you're once more relaxed to think and say, next time I'm going to carry a gun or I'm going to do something, or, so that is where you're relaxed. Now, it's called rest and digest, the parasympathetic nerve, the ventral vagus nerve. This is wonderful, actually very recent. These are all recent neuroscience by Dr. Porges theories, and it's amazing how sympathetic overload, this is called. So what happens in a sympathetic overload is, the blood supply and energy is taken away from your digestion system. It's taken away from your kidneys. It's taken away from your heart. All that, it just goes to the muscles and this thing for you to give that energy to run. I don't know whether you've seen this picture, the very old, called the Forrest Gump. It was about that cerebral palsied boy. Yeah. How he says, run, Forrest, run. And how this calipers, that all, everything. How he's running from those bullies, Yes. Where did he get that? Child who used to walk with those. It's a beautiful, I think, example I can think of for a sympathy. The way you want to survive.
Yes.
Everything else is later.
Later, that's true.
So that's and then once you're done with, then where does energy, energy is neither created nor destroyed. The body has to get it from where? It has to take it away from somewhere else.
True.
So it just draws away from your stomach, from your liver, from your and just gives it to the mass. And then once it's all done, it's okay. Now you go back, go back, liver function, heart function, limb function. You got your energy. Now you can sit and smooth and they get back. So this is the balance which keeps on going in our life.
Okay.
First in flight, relax for everything.
Yes.
Now, if this balance doesn't happen and there's only every time you are stressed, you're constantly wishing, oh my God, danger, then that is what leads you to chronic stress.
Okay.
And that's what happens in you. Then emotional regulation becomes very difficult.
True. It's so beautiful to understand that each and every stage in our life is so important, and each and every experience that we make for ourselves helps us in developing these emotional regulations.
Of course, yeah.
Doctor, please help us understand how do we help children develop these skill sets from an early childhood?
I think, as I told you, it's nothing to do with the child, but with the co-regulator, because the child can't think. Now,
for example, help us understand now when my child is below 1 year and I'm the co-regulator. How do you help? How do you expect me to co-regulate a child?
By fulfilling the needs, we told But when the child starts to get mobile, 1.5, 2 years, and that time the child asks for autonomy. Mm-hmm. Child wants to experience autonomy. If you keep on curbing it, don't go there, come on, you will fall, I'll pick it. You don't give any skill set for the child to at least problem solve a little bit. Where, further. And when the child cries or say.
Sorry to cut you short. So when the child gets a little mobile, then it means that as a co-regulator, you're there to watch out and help them experience what they have to experience and ensure that they are safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're not, as a co-regulator, I don't stop the child from any experience.
No. How will it learn? Where is problem solving skills will come? If you're going to solve all the problem, that's one of the problem I find in our Indian parenting. We are feeding the child till 6 years, 5 years. We're not allowing them even to change their. We don't give any skill set to them. Below 2 years, hardly ever.
Yes.
We don't even experience them to do things, which is, and in the emotional regulation, this is another aspect, that is giving independence. I feel our parenting style itself.
Yeah, I was coming to that.
Okay.
So when I'm asking you this question about being a co-regulator, it's not about only the physical experience that I'm there to give it to the child. Now, at the same time, along with all the physical development, there are many emotional developments the child goes through. As a co-regulator, how do I help them develop? For example, at 1.5 to 2 years, yes, the child is mobile, the child falls down, the child cries, the child touches something, the child is hurt. Now, as a co-regulator, how do I help them develop their own emotional regulation?
Very interesting. Okay. That depends on your parenting style.
Okay.
This is very nice. Actually, John Gottman is, emotional coaching is an amazing kind of experiences, which many of us, you're asking me this question, the answer, but you're asking me for the sake of answering for the audience. Yes. It's the parenting for emotions can be the style. One is dismissing. What do we do when the child falls down in our culture? We'll pick up the child and say, okay, nothing has happened. Come on. So, okay, nothing has happened to you. It's all right. Or sometimes people are going to hit the floor. You did it to my child, as if the floor did it. Anyway, that's another way of doing it. So now, when you dismiss this, you are not even allowing the child to experience the emotion. You're just saying, no, you can't. I mean, you don't, nothing, don't do it at all. Because whether is it a fear, is it a pain, what is that the child, if you allowed the child to say, I'm scared, I'm hurt, that is not, we just dismiss off the child, to the other is what they call is disapproval. Stop crying. You're a boy. You can't, you even disapprove of that emotions. You're like a very authoritarian. That is, I am not allowed even to feel it.
Okay.
See, that's the very, this is the disapproval and this authoritarian style of parenting is pretty common in our country. You just watch how many of them are even thinking of emotional regulation, which is getting, I told you, awareness and all these tips we'll talk about, these. And third is a very permissive parent. Oh, allow. Oh, it's okay. They've experienced it. They will give the child, they'll empathize, it's okay. But they don't give problem solving skills to the child. Yeah. So the emotional coaching is all about doing that. How do you give the skill? Culturally, we don't express our emotions. I think you told me last time, yes. Even with your parents.
Yes.
If you ask them.
They find it very difficult to give the language that is needed to help a child express.
They themselves find it to say it their own.
Yes.
Many times you ask them, how are you feeling? I say, okay, you're angry. Tell me, what do you feel? They'll say, yeah, I shout. I said, okay, all that. But how do you feel? It is all about the mind-body connection. Yeah. It's the body which expresses. Angry or frustration, all these are words in our brain. How do I show it?
Is different to different people.
No, it's by my body expression. Okay. I'm angry, my eyes get up and I say, listen.
Okay.
Your verbal, your facial, your body. That's when I'm sad. How do you know? He said, doctor, why are you so sad today? I'm sitting like this,
Yes.
You look at me. It's not that I'm saying I'm sad.
That's true.
There are more or less 5 primary emotions which we inherit, all universal, and we are born with them. Joy, sadness, anger, disappointment, disgust.
Okay.
The other, like frustration, jealousy, all this comes later. But these primary emotions, universal.
Okay.
And it's wired into us. We show this. And everybody will exhibit it. It is how we understand and help. I said the second part is empathizing, as I told you. So that is how you have to, the child, the parent have to understand and help the child understand, oh, is your heart beating fast? This is happening. Child may not be able to say, but even there's even regulation as a parent, if you're not, like we say, you have to be regulated means you are calm and you're settled and your heart is being duck, 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 and you're picking up the child. The child can hear your heartbeat and say, I'll cry even more because he says that my mother itself is so distressed, or the person who's speaking, where is it going to co-regulate me?
Very true. So they're so sensitive in understanding our emotions, what happens in our body.
Even an infant does.
Yes. We've seen in many cases where a parent is not emotionally settled well. We see many children not getting connected to them or getting to them.
Yeah, in therapy you told me this so very often that I think the Aya does a better job, Dr. Swanso does a better job, and if they send, some... Yes. See, it's true. You've got to be connected. That is... we are born as social animals, a human being. And emotional regulation is all about being connected, which is very, very important. You connect first.
Yes.
Then you do anything else.
I connect, but I need the appropriate language too. As I'm listening from your talk, a co-regulator's job.
Non-verbal communication is so important. It's not verbal. You show it. Your body shows it. Your face shows it. Your hands, how you express. Of course, when the child gets to be verbal, it's a tone of your voice.
It's a tone of
he says, "You're all right. You're all right." Is not going to. Come on, you're all right. I'm here. That's the way you soothe somebody. No.
Right. So these are the skill sets that as I have to have as a co-regulator, and that's when I see that getting transformed into my child, and that's when we see them learning. Okay, doctor, help me understand what exactly happens. Like, for example, we know that I have to regulate the child, so I have to be regulated. But tell me something. What happens to the child when it goes through those meltdowns?
The child, I told you, first of all, it's either it's fear. What it does is that child, I told you, is born with that I will be looked after, I will be kept secured, I will be safe. That is happening. So it's crying, it's feeling uncomfortable. He wants something, he's not getting it, or he's hurt, whatever it is. The steps towards you have to, as an infant, is first of all, as I told you, you have to connect with your child. First of all, you empathize with the child. Yes, you're fallen, you're okay. Then you pick up the child, and when you hold it and you pat the back and say, "It's okay, baby, I'm here, I'll help you." Don't, you're feeling your heart is racing. You can label. You're feeling fear. Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling angry? It may be or may not be the correct emotion, but you're giving the vocabulary to the child.
To the child, yeah.
That this itself will immediately the child will calm down. It may go back to play.
Doctor, if the child continues to cry, how are you going to deal with it?
It's this is very common. Sometimes, when you drop your child to school and, you find that, it's crying, all the mother goes away and the child is crying, the caregiver doesn't know what to do. They try all these techniques, and then, of course, you have to get something. The child could do it out of boredom also, want something new. You show something interesting new, the child will get distracted until stop, then go back to playing. Then, you have to bring something innovative to the child's life for it to get that, because the child can just get very easily, can distract them and go back to, and then you start playing with the child and, getting it to back to its action.
So soothe them first. Connect.
First empathize, then connect, then soothe. If this doesn't work, then distract, and something very interesting like and then it just goes back to it. And then set boundaries and problem solving skills much later, not that day, not that time.
Not that time. Okay.
You have to wait when the child is in good mood to teach them how.
So I redo this, or I revisit the situation and then help him develop.
No, we say no crying. You can ask, then no need. You can get things, to build skills of verbal skills, non-verbal skills.
I don't know at the same moment.
No, you can't, because the child, and at best, even if it stops crying, sometimes it's exhaustion. It's called freeze. The child just melts down. See, when you do the behavior, you see the escalation point, then there's a free. The body just gives in, the mind just gives in. Child may just go off to sleep only.
Yeah.
So many times it happens. Or if it doesn't, then you distract. But you are not supposed to. Not supposed in the sense you can't do much. You have to wait for the child to be recovered, good mood, playing to set skill sets later.
It's a natural tendency that we keep talking when the child is crying. So, and then we feel that the child has understood whatever we are trying to say. So then that's not the way we have to.
Not at all.
So I have to revisit the situation, and then I have to give the child the appropriate vocabulary that the child is supposed to use, or that
do a role play. Playing some other time. When the child is in a good mood.
Okay. So this is with respect to a co-regulator who is handling the child in their infancy, maybe till 2.5, 3 years. So there is much more role that a co-regulator has to play in developing an emotional regulation. Now at 2.5, 3 years, the child enters into a play home, play school, and the child continues its learning process in a school environment. How do we lay foundation in preschool years?
Preschool years, you see, the child is little better. It's got language. It's got little more maturity. It's got lot of gross motor skills, fine motor skills, cognitive skills. Now the child, see, after 2, you have to understand the child knows that I have my own feelings. The other person can have their own. See, after 2 years, child knows. Before 2 years, it thinks me. I told you. After 2 years, that doesn't exist. After 2.5, whatever, the child understands that the others can have their own feelings. I can have my own feelings, and how. So the child goes to school. The school, it's the same thing. The child has to. If the child is emotionally dysregulated, it's the teacher has to play the same role as how do you regulate a child or understand a child's emotion. So in our school system, we very rarely teach. This is a great opportunity now to teach the children about their feelings. What do you feel? How do, and they can show them the body cues, like how you do, how give them how does a sad person look, how they can do role play, they can start labeling their emotions, they can start give them awareness about what happens when you feel your heart, it goes, how what happens. Oh my God, my stomach is going like a butter. You can teach the children how to express. Which is, I think, very, very important. And the school can do a great job in this itself, that they can, put up a chart and, say, ask and show how will it be, and others guess it. You can do so many things in the emotional front. And I think that's the major job I feel the child school should do. Not poems and 1, 2, 3, 4 and ABCD and a child is carrying a pack. I was so surprised to see a backpack with books. Instead of that, they should be allowing this and making them understand their emotions, others. If the other person, children at 2, 2.5 can be very empathetic.
Yes.
They learn basis of empathy. They also learn a little more vocabulary, a little frustration. They can they can understand these small disappointments. So you increase their vocabulary, show them how you can manage this thing. Teach them basic techniques of calming themselves when you're upset. You come home, the simple calming techniques of them to deep breathe. I think one of the best thing is to teach them breathing technique. Nothing, make them out sleep with a doll on their stomach and say when the doll should go up and should go down. When you breathe, make a big doll go up, come down. It's the easiest way of teaching how the child to calm themselves. You got to teach them techniques to calm themselves.
Yes.
While of course you will be there as the person there, but now the child is big enough. It also understands why another child is crying. Why this child gets very empathetic. Oh my God, that child is so distressed. This one also out of the whole class. So the teacher can teach a lot of these kind of techniques to the child. Vocabulary building of their emotions, teaching breathing techniques and understanding. I feel every child who comes to a school comes in different state of emotions.
True.
It all depends upon suppose a child is seen a big fight at home, say a family discord and comes to school. That child doesn't know what's happening, but it knows something is bothering them. A child who's had an abuse, or whatever reason, it's not late, a mother has whacked it 2, 3 times, a father, I'm so sorry to say that, but it's very common in our country to, so when it comes itself and you start immediately a lesson. What fun it would be if they put out a regulation chart and ask the child, if they may teach them or identified which zone they are, then child says, I'm in the green, happy zone, I'm not, this child is showing the red zone that is coming. This teacher could just make the child calm him down first. Yes. Help him to calm down. Connect with the child. Before she doesn't even know what state. Majority of our schools I've seen, they don't even know what. They just start with lessons and wheels of the bus and whatever it is. And I'm not underplaying the importance of that, but I'm just saying emotional regulation is a crux to success in life. It's not academics.
Yes.
Are we preschoolers learning about this is my question.
Preschoolers, I think, should really play a big role in helping children understand the social, emotional thinking skills.
Yeah.
Because there lies the foundation of a young child to become very well regulated as they grow
Definitely
up and go high in their education. Yes, so preschoolers and the teachers who are employed there, I think, play a major role in helping children in developing these skills. As you were telling, I think the best way to start the school is to welcome them with a zone chart. I will be discussing about all these charts in the next podcast. Yeah. But I think it's a very great idea to start the day with, how do you feel?
Yeah.
And yes, if I'm fine, good going. If you are in other zone, then let me help you. I think that's the best way each and every child in the classroom understands, if somebody is in that zone, how do I help them?
Exactly.
I'm happy, she's happy, but that child is not happy.
Yes.
So that builds so much of empathy in a child, and so much we can build in the child when you are helping them with the appropriate vocabulary, teaching them how to help others,
How to calm.
how to calm themselves, how to help others calm. It's not only that I learn it for myself. If I'm able to help another one, I think
It's amazing, no?
I'm the
Yeah.
best human being.
I
right?
think so. Good.
Great, doctor. Now, as we end, as we are discussing about the preschool, there are many higher emotions that children exhibit in their schooling years, the main schooling years. That's when they are about 6 years, 6 to 15 years. There is a lot of emotions children are exposed to: jealousy, winning, losing. Do you really feel even at the next stages in the schooling years, there should be some importance given to emotional regulation or teaching done to
Ideally, it goes on. Social emotional learning goes on for lifetime, and at each stages you have to plan your own program. So it'll be beyond our postcard. But I want to so a few things in the preschool I would like to share is a child. Okay. For the teachers here, which we don't do, which you people do it in Sangamitra, I think, and for your special needs children, which can be very well done here, is to develop every school a child who comes in the zone of highly dysregulated, he should be given an opportunity to calm themselves. How do we do this? I like this idea of what is called the calming corner in a class. It's you set up a corner in a classroom with like some toys, some books, some Legos, and some play, whatever, a few things, where a child who's really dysregulated can go, even himself, go into the and sit in a bean bag, or he can jump, do what he wants, and come for 5 minutes, and then comes back. See, this calming corner for emotional regulation, I think, is a great idea, which even at home, the parents can set it up. Instead of telling them, you give them an opportunity to understand their feeling and regulate themselves. This is something I think is... I like this great idea. I like this idea when I was reading about calming corners.
It helps, doctor, because
Yeah.
when I'm not regulated, I should know how to help myself.
Yeah.
So, and I should also know what are the activities that helps me regulate in a particular scenario. I think that's a very great idea. So, doctor, let's end today's session with all these insights. And I would surely want you to come back for the next podcast, because I would want to discuss more on the strategies to develop emotional
Sure.
regulation. I think because that's more important. Yes, we know that emotional regulation, building an emotional regulation, is very important in children, but we all have a doubt of how to develop, when to develop, what all should we do to develop. So we'll meet you again in our next podcast. And thank you for today, doctor.
Thank you very much for having me.